In order to understand really what's happening, I think, on the planet today, we have to take a couple of steps back and see a bigger picture of a process that's taking place. Because the changing paradigm, the awakening interest in spirituality and energy and healing, it seems to be happening kind of in a very natural way as society evolves. But there's a reason for this. There's something happening in the background that's a driving force for what's happening on the planet. And I think if we can understand what's happening in that way, it helps us, first of all, understand truly what is happening. But then secondly, it accelerates it or activates it because you can work with a paradigm that you understand much better than one you don't understand. And so what's happening on the planet today is a shift in energy and consciousness that is related to a change that has been timed in the spiritual evolution of humanity. Now, those are big words, but if you kind of look at the spiritual backdrop of humanity, there are a lot of cultures, a lot of spiritual traditions that have identified this period in current history, this current time, as a very special time. It's been referred to as the end times, and the great shift of the planet and the paradigm shifting consciousness and the awakening of a new world and all kinds of things. But going deeply into really well-established spiritualities like the Mayans, for example, who were formidable indigenous timekeepers. They understood the greater time cycles of the Earth and the solar system and the galaxy. And they talked about this time representing the end of a cycle. And what that means is the Earth itself goes through cycles of consciousness. And we arrive at certain points in time that we recognize are the beginnings and endings of time cycles. And so this is all founded on the flow on the galactic level of the solar system, the planets, and all the bodies within the galaxy and the universe. And so there arrive points in time where things converge. And so the year 2012 was understood to be a period of time when the alignment of the Earth and our solar system to the center of the galaxy meets the middle of a 26,000 year time cycle. And the reason that's important is because it defines in traditions like old ancient yogic traditions, yugas, or great time cycles that represent the beginning and ending of civilizations. And some of them are so big that they represent the beginning and the ending of multiple time cycles. So the way to understand that is, imagine today is Saturday, December 31st, 1999, and it's about to strike midnight. In the strike of the clock, we are about to enter a new day, a new week, a new hour, a new minute, a new second, a new year, a new decade, even a new century and a new millennium. So at the same point in time, all of those time cycles, the big ones and the little ones, are all converging at one point in time. And so the year 2012 represents the convergence of galactic time cycles in this way. And so this is why they earmarked it as such an important transition. And what the wisdom keepers identified was it represents the ending of a big consciousness cycle. And it also represents the beginning of a new consciousness cycle. So you might say, well, what is the consciousness cycle? What do you mean by that? If we look backwards, the last cycle of time represented an immersion in duality. So it was a period of understanding the forces of polarity, dark and light, if you will, but really polarity, the balance of positive and negative, of good and evil, of dark and light. And it was really an opportunity to live experiences that helped us understand the nature of duality. And so it's on a galactic or universal level, you might consider it a school. We were in the school of duality. Humanity was in the school of duality. And as we go through this transition, we're going into a new time cycle. And when you would ask the indigenous keepers what that represents, like what is this new time cycle all about? They would kind of chuckle and say, well, we don't really know because we haven't created it yet. But the essence of what it represents is a period of unity. And so it represents a time when a lot of forces of consciousness coalesce, and we learn from the school of duality how to unify things and make conscious choices. And so you hear people say things like we're becoming conscious co-creators. We're becoming spiritually conscious beings who are cooperating with a spiritual paradigm to create a reality for which we hold personal and collective responsibility.